Hello everyone, welcome to my talk, Skill Tree Unlocked from Consultant to In-House. I'm Stacey Jenkins, I'm an accessibility design specialist at Ubisoft, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about my personal journey over the past 2 years of being in this role and some of the things that I learned along the way. For those of you in a similar role, I'm sure you'll agree there is no one set career path into accessibility. A lot of us got here by accident or in a very roundabout way. Very few of us have ever had training on any of this. A lot of us have just been thrown ourselves in the deep end, and I know that can be hard. So a bit of background on me. Before I started working at Ubisoft, I was a commercial analyst for Sega. So I was looking at sales figures, making pretty graphs and dashboards all day, while also consulting on accessibility on the side. But consulting didn't really set me up for success. I'd never really worked in-house on the dev side of things, and I had a lot of work to do on how to get up to speed on how the heck games are made and where I personally fit in that process. And although I did have a lot to learn on game development and how a big organization like Ubisoft works, what I struggled with personally wasn't a lack of knowledge, because that kind of comes with time anyway. What I really struggled with were the so-called soft skills. So what even are soft skills? They're those personal skills that enable you to interact and work effectively with others in the workplace. And they usually complement the more technical or knowledge-based hard skills. So that's things like communication, negotiation, teamwork, leadership, problem solving, empathy, active listening, creative thinking. The list is really endless. But unlike hard skills, soft skills aren't really taught, and you're often just expected to magically know how to do them and how to be good at them. And so many of us in game dev are neurodivergent too, so there's sometimes an extra layer of difficulty in getting this stuff. Some people this may come super naturally to, but I was certainly not one of them. So, research conducted by Harvard University, the Carnegie Foundation, and Stanford Research Center back in 1918 concluded that 85% of job success comes from having well-developed soft and people skills, and only 15% of job success comes from technical skills and knowledge or hard skills. According to a study by LinkedIn, 92% of talent professionals believe that soft skills are just as important, if not more important, than hard skills. But shockingly, only 37% of employers feel that their entry-level employees have the necessary soft skills. By calling these skills soft, we diminish their importance a little bit, and we make them seem like they're secondary to the more technical parts of the job, when in reality they are potentially even more important. So, what did I learn over these past 2 years? First, humility. You're not expected to know everything. It's literally impossible. As an accessibility specialist, you'll need to understand all different kinds of disability, a huge variety of barriers that players experience, and you also kind of need to know a little bit about every area of game dev, because accessibility touches almost every aspect of the game. It's okay if you're not a walking encyclopedia, and no one is going to be mad at you if you need to go away and look something up or research it. So it's okay to say, let me get back to you on that. I found this one really, really hard when I first started. I often need more time to think about things and process information, so I sometimes have trouble thinking on the spot, especially during meetings, and kind of giving feedback and advice immediately. But rather than giving incorrect or not well thought out guidance to teams, just offering the first thought that comes to your head, it's okay to take a step back and say, you know what, I need to think about that. Let me get back to you. So I had to learn that skill quite early on. Get comfortable with not being the smartest person in the room. Get comfortable with asking questions. If you're new to game dev, there'll be plenty parts of the business that you don't fully understand. There'll be acronyms, jargon, software, so much. And like I said before, you kind of need to know a little bit about everything. And you're going to be working with people who are experts in their discipline. So learn to stay curious and ask questions, and try to be excited to learn from these awesome people who know stuff. Communication. Everybody has limited time, and accessibility is likely to just be one thing that they need to account for in a list of many. So getting your point across quickly and succinctly is really important. So whether that's in a meeting, a presentation, or in written work like emails or Teams. I struggle with this one a lot because I always want to make sure that I'm giving as much info as possible and I'm helping teams understand the barriers in depth, but I had to learn how to edit myself. If you can say something in fewer words, do it. Especially with written work like documentation or benchmarks or guides, no one is going to read a 10,000 word document. It doesn't matter how great it is. You have to make things as easily digestible as possible. And that's something that I had to work out really hard. Also, active listening is hard. This one is particularly difficult if, like me, you have cognitive disabilities, problems with concentration, memory, but it is definitely a skill that can be honed. It just needs practice like everything else. So a question that I try to ask myself is, am I really listening or am I just waiting to speak? Sometimes I'll get stuck wanting to raise a really good point and I'm trying to make sure that I don't forget the point that I want to raise. And that means that I'm not concentrating fully on what the other person is saying, so I'm more likely to miss things and make people think that I'm not listening to them. So the best advice that I found for this is to write down your thought or your point down so that you don't forget it and then go right back to listening. But it takes a lot of practice and I'm still working on this one. You don't always need to jump straight to solutions. It's a sad truth that there aren't enough of us as accessibility specialists to go around to answer every single question for every single team. So it's up to us to help teams grow their own knowledge and grow their own skills in accessible design so that they don't need us. They're also the experts in their fields too, so they should have ownership of their own designs. So our role is really to help them understand the disabled player experience and the barriers that they might face with the design, and then ask questions and try to help the designer come up with a solution that works for them and that they are happy with. It's always more powerful when people come up with solutions themselves and have full autonomy over their designs. Of course, we can give advice and we can make suggestions, give them a nudge in the right direction, but it's their design, it's their work, and they know best how to make it work. So it's often best to kind of try to resist the urge to go straight into solutions and instead let the team lead. Emotional intelligence. Sadly, not everyone will know as much or care as deeply about accessibility as you. Everyone will be at different points in their journey, so you'll need to figure out where they're at and how to appeal to them and what it is they're doing, what motivates them. It is sometimes really difficult for us to understand that some people just don't care as much as we do because we care so deeply and feel so strongly, but you will find your allies, your champions, and over time anyone can become a champion, even people that you don't suspect. But flexibility and persistence is key. But also remember that there's only so much you can do and not everyone wants to join the cause. And it's not because you didn't try hard enough or say the right words in the right order. You're doing what you can and you're doing great. Trust. So often the way that we turn people into champions is by building trust. Now, unfortunately, there is no shortcut to trust. It has to be built steadily over time. But some things that I found really helped. Firstly, staying curious and keep asking questions. You really want to try and understand their design intentions, understand their blockers, their frustrations, the other input from different teams that they're trying to balance at the same time. Understanding what their goals are is really key in helping them try to figure out how to make it accessible. But it also shows that you're interested and that you care about their work, because that care has to go both ways. If we want people to care about what we're doing, we need to offer them the same. And it's also important to have empathy. We're pretty good at having empathy for our end users, but we also need to have it for our colleagues as well, because everyone is trying the best with the resources and the time that they have. Okay, finally, resilience. The unfortunate reality is that things happen, plans change, features get cut, but you have to try not to take it personally and you need to try and stay flexible. Think on your feet and think creatively about how to achieve your goals in other ways if your first solution maybe falls through. And also do what you can by design as well, because you can't cut something if it's part of the core design. You do have to accept that there will sometimes be players that you miss. It can be really, really tough knowing that there are still things missing or players that we might still exclude. We can do our absolute best, but at the end of the day, we're not solely responsible for the accessibility of our games, and it's not our fault when things go wrong. It's everybody's responsibility on the production, so please don't put it all on your own shoulders. This work is really important, but it can be really challenging. Self-care is important. Tara had a really great pep talk at a previous GAconf about this, so do go look it up because it's great. Just remember to look after yourself, touch grass, find hobbies outside of gaming to help you decompress. Know that you're enough and you got this. Thank you for listening. If you want to connect, feel free to look me up on LinkedIn under Stacey-Jenkins or everywhere else as Here Lies Stacey, where I will be significantly more annoying. Take care and have a wonderful rest of GAconf, and I'll catch you at the next one.